We as humans have a method of doing multiple things. If we want to kick a ball, we have a way of doing that. If we want to eat, we have a way of doing that. Basically, we have a methodic progress of doing things. Today we're going to talk about methods in programming, but first I would like to run through what is a method. Think of a method as a command. In the method you tell the program what to do, and you can later on in the program call this. Calling a method basically means executing it. A method consists of different parts. First we have the access modifier. The access modifier can either be public, private or static. Access modifier basically means who and what can access this. Then secondly you have the return type. If the method doesn't need to return anything, it can be void, but you can also return things like a string, integer, an array, whatever. For instance, if you wanted to make a method for calculator, you would most likely need to return an integer. Then after the access modifier and the return type you have the method name. This is just what you call your method. And then afterwards it's followed by open and close parentheses. In here you have something called parameters. A parameter is something you pass to a method. Passing something to a method basically means giving the method the tools it needs to execute whichever command you want it to. So if it needs, for instance in a calculator, and it needs to return the result of two numbers added together, well then it would need the first number and the second number as parameters. And all this code will go between these curly brackets, and this part is called the method body. Now let me show you an example. So as you can see here, I've created 4 methods. I've created a method for addition, one for subtracting, one for multiplying, and one for dividing. One way you could create a mathematical operator is doing this, creating an integer called first number, an integer called second number, and then asking the console to take in these numbers, add them together, and post the results in a third integer called result. But this would mean if you wanted to change the mathematical operator, for instance minus or division, instead of adding, this would mean you would have to change the code each and every time. So it wouldn't be very flexible to do it like this. What would be more flexible, however, is creating methods. Maybe when coding, you've noticed that the words are color-coded. For instance, the green words are something called classes. So we have a console class, we have a convert class to convert our integers, for instance. And then there are yellow words. The yellow words are methods, and they're followed up by parentheses. So main is the method that's running the program. This is where we write most of our code or execute it. For instance, write line is also a method, read line is also a method. So that's a good way Visual Studio lets you know what are classes, what are variables, what are methods, so on. So if we move outside the scope, then we can create our first method. First off, we need an access modifier. We'll use the static for this, as this works best with this kind of console application. But in larger projects, it's better practice to use private if possible. Now we need a return type, so we'll type int. Now we need to name our method. It would make sense to call it add. And now in the parentheses, we will need a parameters. What do we need to add two numbers together? We need two numbers. So we'll create an int first, then place a comma to separate these parameters, and then we'll place an int second. So int first, comma, int second inside these parentheses, and then open up curly brackets. I'll just press enter, and then I've created my method body. In the case of this method, what goes inside the method body is actually pretty simple. So we will use a keyword called return. Return is the way we take something out of a method and give it to the rest of the program so they can use it. So we'll type return, and we want to add the first and second number together. So we wanted to return the result. So we'll type return first plus second, because then it returns what is effectively our result. And up here in the main method, we can now go and say console.writeLine, and inside the parentheses, we'll type our add method, and then open up parentheses again. And as you can see, when we open up the parentheses after typing add, it'll ask for parameters, int first and int second. So the two numbers we want to add together basically. And you can see first is marked in bold writing. Here I'll just type 5. And now when I put the comma, second is marked in bold writing. This is Visual Studio's way of telling you which parameter you're currently trying to specify. So now when we run this, we've asked the console to write the line of the result of our method. So as you can see, it says 12, and you can do this to make other methods as well. If we copy our add method, change this to subtract, and then inside the method body, we have to return first minus second instead, because now it's subtraction and not addition. So to end of the video, I have a challenge for you. I would like you to create 2 new methods, also returning integers, and they should be multiply and division. So 2 new mathematical operators. I give you a quick sec to pause the video and I'll show you how I did it. So as you can see, what I do is just copy these 2 methods and then change the name of the methods to multiply and division. And then inside the console.writeLines, so I can see visually what's going on, I'll just add multiplying the numbers and dividing the numbers. And then actually the only thing you have to do in the method body is changing what it returns. So for the multiplying method, it has to return first times second, and then for the division method, it needs to return first divided by second. When we run the program, you can see how it looks when adding the numbers, when subtracting, multiplying and dividing. I hope you enjoyed this video and hope you learned something new. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.